I'm on a quest to watch all the movies and TV shows about the tales of King Arthur and his knights. Let's check out everything that came out in the later 2000s. Tristan and Isolde is a movie from 2006. The many different peoples in Britain are fighting against each other. At the same time, they are all being attacked by the Irish. King Mark of Cornwall might be the only man who can bring them all together. He adopts young Tristan, who grows up to be a fine warrior. Here begins our tragic romantic tale. Tristan is loyal to his king and people, but his loyalty is tested when the woman he loves is married to his king. This version of the tale is different from the others in the way that it spends more time looking at the larger political world and side characters. They do a really good job of setting the scene in the beginning, explaining exactly when it takes place after the Romans left and the situation between the Britons and Ireland. This version of the story actually doesn't mention King Arthur, magic, or knights in shining armor. This is less a fairy tale and more a realistic Dark Ages drama. Tragic romance is not my thing, but this is the third version I've watched of the Tristan and Isolde story, and in my opinion, it's the best. The story felt much more fleshed out than the others. The performances were all around very good. Rufus Sewell as the King of Cornwall stole the show. He's the one I was really rooting for. I would recommend this for all you tragic romance fans. 125 minutes, rated 13+. But that seems low to me due to adultery. Merlin's Apprentice is a miniseries from 2006. This is the sequel to Merlin from 1998. Despite that, it doesn't really feel like it. It's more like a what-if story. What if Merlin took a nap at some point during King Arthur's reign, then woke up 50 years later to Camelot on the brink of destruction and a whole host of new characters who have their own set of dramatic problems. One of them happens to be a young thief who has some magic but doesn't know how to control it. A huge focus of the story is the quest for the Holy Grail, which, if they find it, will somehow miraculously save Camelot. This doesn't make sense with the original story's timeline. You probably could even watch this as a standalone without ever watching Merlin. One of the main characters, the Lady of the Lake, looks and has a completely different personality than the original. There is no connection to the fantasy world introduced in the first, and the fight for dominance in religion is not present. I did not care for this. The tone is less campy fantasy and more cringy drama. I did not find any of the characters likable or interesting. I'm not surprised at all that I never heard of this until I went looking. Would not recommend. 176 minutes, rated 13+. The Last Legion is a movie from 2007. The Western Roman Empire is about to collapse. The last Roman emperor must find a legendary sword that was forged in Britain and belonged to his ancestor, Julius Caesar. This is not historically accurate at all. His wise teacher, who is really Merlin, and a handful of loyal soldiers must get him to Britain to find the fabled Dragon Legion. This is a prequel to Arthur's story. This takes place about 475 AD, during the time of Emperor Romulus Augustus. No knights here. We are in northern Britain at Hadrian's Wall with Roman soldiers. There is no mention of Christianity and only science magic. I am so conflicted. On one hand, this is a very talented cast with starring names like Colin Firth and Ben Kingsley and many more. There was so much talent here. Even though the script was predictable and cliché, it was still fun. On the other hand, I don't like that they made Arthur a descendant of Julius Caesar. It took some of the magic out of it for me. 103 minutes, rated 13+. Pendragon, Sword of His Father, is a movie from 2008. The Saxons have invaded, and young Arthur, Pendragon's life is changed forever. This is the equivalent of a Bible story version of the Arthurian tale. I think it's just Ben-Hur. Arthos is sold into slavery, then taken in by a Roman, eventually in the service of a king. He must work hard and, no matter the betrayals, not lose sight of his faith. This takes place in 411 AD. 1 year after the Romans have left Britain. The main focus of the film is the Christian faith, so pretty much any other hint of religion is gone. Even this version of Merlin is a Christian. No consistency in the sets or costumes. This was obviously made with a very specific audience in mind, i.e., a young Christian family film. It felt like I was watching a movie based on a preteen fictional Bible story, complete with cliché storyline, super corny hero lines, and everything comes back to being about God. If that's your thing, this is for you. 111 minutes, rated 7+. Merlin is a TV series that ran from 2008 to 2012. Merlin hides a secret. He's a warlock in a land where magic is outlawed. Unfortunately for him, but fortunately for Prince Arthur, he becomes Prince Arthur's manservant and spends his days saving the Pratt's life, with the king and knights none the wiser. With trolls, evil magic users, and a psychotic sister, Morgana, around, will Arthur survive long enough to be king? This is a story about adventure and friendship. This happens in some fantasy world that has no relation to our own. No real talk of religion at all. There are dragons and unicorns and other fantastical creatures. The costumes are colorful and belong in fairy tale books. This is it. This is my number one of all the Arthurian movies and shows. I remember watching the first episode when it came out and yelling at my screen for all the ways it completely is different from the Arthurian mythos. However, it quickly won me over with the witty writing, quirky characters, and endearing relationships. I could probably go on for hours about how much I love this brotherhood of knights, Guinevere and Morgana's separate but parallel storylines, and of course, Merlin and Arthur's everything. I will never forgive this show for how it ended. Thank you, Fix-It fanfiction. 5 seasons, 65 episodes altogether, each between 40 to 50 minutes each, rated 16+. Merlin and the War of the Dragons is a movie from 2008. Before the birth of Arthur, Merlin is born half human and half demon. He is raised and guided by an ancient wizard known as the Mage. To save Britain from the Saxons, he must work together with a young would-be king, be tested and confused by the Lady of the Lake and her sister Nimue, and be part of a giant dragon battle. In the end, will Merlin choose to be good or evil? This starts out trying to establish a specific timeline, connecting it to history right after the Romans left in the beginning of the Dark Ages. But once the actual story starts, all that really doesn't matter. It's a fantasy world with gods and dragons and no mention of cultures or religions other than the Saxons are bad. I admit going into this with a biased attitude based on the cover and that it's made by Asylum. Then I watched it and had a really fun time. It's certainly a low-budget film with a lot of story gaps and nothing particularly groundbreaking. But the acting is decent, the comedy is there, and how often do you get to watch 15 to 20 dragons just pop out of nowhere and battle each other? I think this must have been written by someone who didn't care about the details and just wanted to bring their own fantasy to life. Good for them. 90 minutes, rated 13+. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Next time, we'll be checking out everything from the 2010s. Happy watching.